welcome in everybody. Let's see who we got in the house tonight. Let's see. All right, we got John Petticord. Welcome in. So good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Miss Nisi, so good to see you. Welcome in. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. Rachel, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. And let's see. And we got Tarsha. Welcome in. Thanks so much for coming in tonight. It's good to see you and everybody else. And Philip, so good to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. Tarsha's right. I think we ate on that for 2 days. That was a bunch, and I only cooked half the bucket. I finished that okra up for lunch today. I had found a whole pork belly and baked it in the oven, slow roasted in the oven, and we had the rest of that okra with some pasta and that pork belly. Boy, it was so good, man. And just appreciate y'all coming out and welcome into Tammy. So good to see you. Thanks so much. Welcome. But I had Autumn to dig up my miniature library on herbs so I could show you guys what I've got to. Welcome in Scully and Shayna and Spencer. So good to see y'all. Welcome. But oh God, this is my miniature library here on herbal medicine. I had a big time interest in it, because I liked looking for plants and going outside and working with them and what does each one of them do. And if you want one that's easily accessible, most everybody has a Five Below. It's the first book I ever bought, Five Below, right here. And it has pictures and it goes into details about each thing and what they do and the best way to take them and the medicinal parts of it and what the best way to take them. And usually when I get interested in a particular plant, I don't just use one book. I usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 books, and I read all 6 books. And what does each book have to say on it? And I take the main parts of each one of those, and then I also go online, and when I'm looking for a particular plant, I look for its deadly lookalike and learn the differences, because every plant has a twin that will kill you. And that's why people who often talk about the herbal medicine, they tell you, learn the plant and its lookalike and be able to distinguish the two so that you don't hurt yourself, because it's very easy to pick up the wrong thing and it can do some harm. So, and again, if you decide that you want to use something like that, consult. If you're on medication, consult your doctor and make sure that what you're going to take doesn't counteract with what you're already taking. That's definitely a recommended thing. But WD-40 will fix about anything. But I think the coolest one I have is this one, Native American Herbalist Bible. Man, that's some really good stuff. But I think the two that I most use the most is this one and this one. These were the first two that I got. And I recommend, if you go online and you find a book that you like, man, I need that. Go to thriftbooks.com and type it in. You can get it there for less than half of what you'd pay for a new one. So, just and of course, go to your local library. They're going to have something there, and just give you a place to start. And I think right here, I actually ordered this because I didn't know what the dang plant looked like, and then I quickly figured out what the doggone plant looked like, so I could find my own. But this is sassafras right here. I ordered this. I don't even know how long ago, and I ordered it from John Hartley. Craftsman and purveyor of the wild from Etsy.com, and his store is Dogwood Forage, and he has all sorts of stuff on there. And it was reasonably priced. I forget how much I paid for that, but after I find out what it looked like, I have an entire tree out in one of the old cars is drying, so I have all I need from now on. So, but when I find something like that, I usually add it to this. This is you know how doctors have their little black bag that they go house to house with? Well, this one is, this one's yarrow that I got 3 years ago. And this blackberry leaf is special to me because where this was gathered at now sits a storage complex. They completely tore the place apart, and our blackberry vines, unfortunately, were on their property, and they had the right to do that, to clean it up and use it, but it's all gone now. Yep, we were told our doctor, he said, good, keep doing whatever you're doing, because David was breathing much better. Yeah, that's right. I'd be in trouble. Autumn would kill me over that. Dr. May. I don't know about that, but welcome into Bud Files. So good to see you. Oh yeah, mowing helps breathing. It sure does. And that stuff, literally, I have some of it out in the outside drying. I pulled it up and dried the whole leaf, and you can, when I get like a chest infection, I put it right in here, and 2 or 3 puffs on that will clear you right up. And it's a lung healer. It's good for asthma and all that stuff. Smoker's lung. It'll heal your lungs completely. You can do the flowers and make a tea out of it, or smoke it, however you prefer to take it. Jewel, yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, this one right here is one that we take every winter. Uh, and I have a story about that. When my father was 5 years old, he had gotten double lung pneumonia, and he was on. It was in the middle of winter. Snow was on. You couldn't get anywhere, and Grandma and Grandpa didn't know what to do. So my grandmother hiked. I don't know how far away it was in the snow, and she got a granny. You know, people call them a granny witch, but she was a medicine woman, and she came and fixed up this exact thing. Uh, Lemon, honey, hot water, and a shot of. She put moonshine in it and gave him that, and by the next morning, uh, he was fixed up. He was able to eat, able to breathe. Google doctor wrote prescription. Yeah, they do. So, yeah, herbal medicine really it has its benefits because it cures the problem. It doesn't put a band-aid on it. Now that's something I'm a firm believer in. And luckily we have one of those herbalist doctors near me here, so the hard I ever took was a double shot of Applejack before Spunky. Yeah, yeah. And help brace for impact when you got bucked off into a fence post. Grandpa would do that all the time, but I think the very first plant that I ever, for my family, my grandpa and my dad, ginseng was a big thing. But I don't want nothing to do with it because now it's so daggum regulated, and it's not worth fooling with. Welcome in, James. So good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. Let's see. That's why I was asking all the questions. Do the right thing. Right. That's right. It's best to ask everything there is to ask. And I recommend, going online. YouTube's a great place. Welcome in, Raymond. So good to see you. Go online and type in, you know, whatever specific plant that you're looking at using, and you'll find a million videos on what it is, how to identify the deadly lookalikes, what to do with it, the best way to prepare it. So, literature at your hand, plus you put all these resources together when to make your decision whether you're going to use something or not. So, late getting here today, wanted to get some of those books, right? Thriftbooks.com is the best place that I forget how much I paid for this one. This one's using plants for healing, and there's the Thrift Books label on it. I never paid a lot for any of them but this one's more of an old style because it just has pencil drawings. But like this one has actual photographs. Let's see. Yeah. Like chamomile. There's a good one. I actually have my own chamomile. One plant came up on my neighbor's property, and before he mowed it, I asked him to mow around it where it would, the little seeds would spread, and it spread to my yard. Now I have that little place blocked off so I can have my own chamomile. But I mean, this book goes into absolute detail, and it goes as far as It's best taken as an infusion, which is a tea or a tincture, and it tells what it's often used with. This one says to pair it with meadowsweet, but then it tells it helps with digestion and inflammatory condition, menstrual pain and cramps, nervous tension, and children's ailments. Which there's not much that you can give a child because of their inability to control their temperature. They tell you not to give a child any kind of herbal things. Let's see. And, Shana, you'd be surprised. You could maybe go on Google Maps and type in, or not Google Maps, but just Google in general and type in, herbalist near me, and you'd be surprised at what would pull up. And my great grandpa's name was Jim Sam. Knew exactly where the ginseng was. That's right. A lot of people back then did. My dad does, but like I said, it's so heavily regulated, and if you take too little or you take too much or you don't report this or you don't buy this license or that license, it's crazy, and it's just something I don't want to fool with. Yeah. Yeah. Now, keeping some for personal use, that would be awesome, I think, but as far as going and hunting it legally, it's just a pain. My goodness. But anyway, I have an absolute dictionary, miniature library on that, and resources online that and like Nisi had asked about my ginseng. I had that little half a gallon jug, and I made it. But when I made that, I was supposed to pull it right off the boil and put it into the pan and mix it up right then. But I was outside doing something, and Autumn just turned it off, and it sat, and it got strong. Like, it was so bitter. But I drank it anyway, and I drank it cold. It was good, ice cold. And I only drank the 1 cup a day, like I told y'all last time. But I think that's enough of me. Let me get off of this screen and let's get into a couple of stories here now before our time gets away from us. And the Alligator Horse ever so generously sent a couple of stories in recently, and I'm going to read those. And this Saturday's video is actually going to be a video made about a story that he submitted. Now, you guys will like it because I done the recording outside in the middle of the night, and you can hear the crickets and cicadas and everything else going in the background. And I left all that noise in there, and it's going to be a good video. So it'll be out Saturday, and let's get into tonight's video. Okay, it says this story is about one night when my great uncle Lee Davis, one of my grandmother's brothers, was almost scared to death. It was way back in the 1920s. Uncle Lee, who everyone called Doc, and his buddy Joe Ramsey were on a bender, having got a hold of some old Pop Skull whiskey made back in some holler. Uncle Lee said he was drunker than a skunk, and so was Jode. Well, they were staggering along a ridge road in the middle of the night when lightning began to flash and thunder began rolling. Uncle Lee said that even drunk, he knew they were about to get soaked. So he told Jode that they needed to get under cover. And he said to Jode, let's run up the ridge a ways to that abandoned house and get in out of this rain that's coming. Let's see. Welcome in, Karen. So good to see you. Thanks for coming. And Jode, well, he said, everyone said there were haints in that house, and I don't exactly want to go there. And Uncle Lee said, haints would be better than getting hit by a lightning bolt on this old ridge road. So they made the best time that they could and came to an old abandoned house just as it started to rain. Jode said, Doc, I don't want to go in there. But as he said that, lightning hit real close, and he changed his mind real quick. They tried the door, and it opened under Uncle Lee's hand, and they went in. Jode took a match and ranked it on the seat of his overalls, and they looked around the room. Uncle Lee said that the house was empty, not a stick of furniture, so they were both stretched out on the wood floor and soon were fast asleep. Welcome in, Cody. It's good to see you. Sometime later, while they were sleeping, Joe woke up and he got Uncle Lee up. He said, Doc, listen, do you hear that? It took a bit for Uncle Lee to come to, and he asked Jode, why in the world did you wake me up? And Jode told him, did you hear them noises? And Lee said, what noises? He said, under the floor, be quiet and just listen. Uncle Lee was about to tell Jode that all he heard was the rain, when suddenly he heard a strange quivering sound coming from under the floorboards right below them. Lee said, oh, I heard that. What do you think it is? About that time, they heard a bunch of noises of movement and louder noises coming from under the house. And Jode cried out, it's Haints! Uncle Lee said they about killed one another trying to get out the door at the same time, drunk or not. Storm or not, they took off running as fast as they could down the road. Uncle Lee later said that them noises scared him stone sober. The next day, Lee was telling his brother Wesley about it and said Wesley just laughed and laughed. And he said, well, there ain't no haints under that old house. It was a flock of sheep. The house was built on the side of a hill just below the road, and the back side was open, setting on wooden posts. Someone had turned a flock of sheep into the pasture behind the house. What Uncle Lee and Joe heard was the flock getting in out of the rain by coming in under the house. Uncle Lee later said if he hadn't been so drunk on shine, he would have recognized the sound of them sheep made by their hooves. Welcome in, Shirley. So good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Says everyone around us has been getting rain except us. We're starting to really need it. Well, it's been raining pretty good here. But no, that's a good story. Hearing people talk about haints and don't want to go in that house, but then the rainstorm hits and they have no choice, and then they're fast asleep, and all of a sudden they hear that carrying on underneath the house, and then they run for the hills just to find out it was a bunch of sheep. Boy, I tell you what, that's a good one. That reminds me of a story my dad told me one time. Him and his brother had been out drinking, and they was walking the old dirt road back home, and they was literally holding each other up walking down the middle of this road, and all of a sudden they seen these headlights coming, and one of them said, "Oh no, it's the police, we gotta hide." Well, they just jumped for the ditch, not looking at what they was jumping into, and they jumped into a big old hedge of sawbriars, and boy, they got tangled up in that mess, and they laid there, and shortly here come a car that they thought was a police car. Well, it turned out to be Granny on her way to church. So they jumped into them old sawbriars for nothing. And Dad told me that his brother told him that, well, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to kill you. Let's see. He said for me, I would walk in the rain to get home. No sleeping in an old house. That's right. That is right. And Alligator Horse sent in another story. I'm going to get into reading it, but I want to thank everybody that's watching at home that can't comment on here. We sure appreciate y'all. Whether you comment or not, we appreciate you watching. And some of these stories like that right there just makes my day. Them thinking the house is haunted, but it ain't nothing but a sheep, or think that the police is coming, but it ain't but Grandma on her way to church. So, all right, let's get into this next one here. It says this story is about my grandmother, how my grandmother taught my Uncle Bob how not to waste food. My grandma was one of those old-time mountain woman cooks that would make food that would make your mouth water and cause your belly to growl just to smell it. This one took place during the Depression. My family, like all families, were hit by the Depression, but one advantage they had was they grew their own food. So while some meals might be skimpy, they didn't starve. Like my uncle Drexel once told me, the seat of my britches might be wore out, but Mom always had something good to put on the table. This particular Sunday, my grandma had fixed a dinner of fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, with biscuits and butter and wild plum jelly and some fresh garden peas. My Aunt Shirley told me that my Uncle Bob filled his plate with some of everything, but when he left the table, he had a large helping of peas on the side of his plate that he hadn't touched. Shirley said to her mom, "Don't say a word to Bob." Now, they didn't have electricity back in the hills, So after each meal was eaten, the scraps would be given to the hounds. So they didn't have a refrigerator, so there was no way to save leftovers. A woman had to be judged of how much food was needed for a meal so as not to waste anything. So on that Sunday evening, my grandmother made her soup, beans, cornbread with fried potatoes and poke greens, which is some good eating. When everyone sat down for supper, my grandmother went to the warming box on her flat top wood stove and retrieved a plate of peas, which she sat in front of Uncle Bob. She said, "Now, Bobby, when you eat those peas, you can have some of everything else." My grandmother told Uncle Bob, well, the way the story was told to me, that Uncle Bob said that he wasn't eating them peas and left the table without supper. The next morning, Grandma made fried eggs, country ham with red-eye gravy, fried taters, and biscuits. When Uncle Bob sat down, she went to the warming box of the stove and set the plate of peas right before him, and again, telling him that when he ate them peas, he could have something else. Uncle Bob, being stubborn, left without breakfast. Aunt Shirley told me that this war was War of Wheels, went on until Wednesday evening, when again Grandma set the plate of peas down for Uncle Bob. Shirley said they were so dried out by this time they were hard as buckshot. She said Uncle Bob finally cracked and began to eat the peas, finally cleaning his plate from Sunday dinner. Shirley, you could hear him crunching like he had eaten grape nuts. This is how Grandma taught my Uncle Bob not to waste food. Now that is so funny. He went 3 whole days without eating because he wasn't eating them peas. But I love peas, especially sweet peas. Let's see. I'm glad my elders told me that. I'm glad they told you those stories too, so that we can share them with everybody. Because it's these stories that just keep as part of our heritage, and they're getting lost day by day. But it's sure an honor to get to share those, and I'm really appreciative that you sent them in to us. Quart jar moonshine I've had for 12 years. Yep. Soaked cotton balls. Yep. Sure enough. I'm so glad you got to come in, Shirley. So good to see you tonight. And we have another one here, which, let's see, it's not too long. Well, we will read this last one and wrap her up for the evening, but let's get into it. It's entitled One Solid Ghost. Back when my Uncle Ray was a young man, he was sparking a girl from another neighborhood. Now they all lived rural. My mom's kin lived in a holler named Simpson Holler. Simpson Holler. But they called where they lived and their neighbors lived by their neighborhoods. My Uncle Ray walked over to take his girl to church one Saturday evening, and in doing so, he had to pass by a big old oak tree where the story went 2 men had killed each other in a knife fight. The spot was said to be haunted, and it didn't bother him walking by it in the daytime, but he knew on the return trip it would be mighty dark. Let's see. Welcome in, Daryl. So good to see you. So they went to church. He took her to supper. He took supper with her and her family, and presently he began to walk home. He said it was dark as the inside of your pocket at midnight. He was having to feel his way along the dirt road and hope he didn't step in a hole, a rut, or a rock on the road. So there he was approaching this oak tree when he said he was getting kind of nervous. Just as he came abreast of the tree, he ran smack into something in the middle of the road. He said he swapped ends and took off running back the way he had come when he suddenly had the thought that he had to run into something mighty solid to be a ghost. So he stops and yells back from the direction, "This is Ray Simpson. Who's out there?" From up the road, called back, "This is Volney Cox." It seems old Volney had walked over to my uncle's neighborhood to take a girl who lived there to church as well, and they had run right slap into one another under that old tree. My uncle said that the two of them met and sat down under the tree talking till Monday morning. Both of them was afraid to continue along. And it says, P.S. Volney ended up marrying my Aunt Eugenia. Boy, howdy. I wouldn't know what to do. Walking along so daggum dark that you can't see nothing and smack into something, scare you so bad you take off running back in the direction you come from, and then you realize, wait, that wasn't a ghost. Because I would have passed right through it and yelled out, and it turned out to be somebody you knew. But you're so daggum scared you just sit there and talk till sunrise because you sure wasn't walking past that tree again. But I know the feeling at 60, 71, I can't remember, but 40 years ago, can't remember. Right, that's a long time. 71's a pretty good age. Jar of moonshine in a wick light candle burned for a year. Right, I've heard that. I have heard that. So, well, I want to thank y'all for coming out tonight, listening to me tell some stories that our awesome brother Alligator Horse sent in. I really do appreciate that. Appreciate you sending them in. It's mighty kind of you, and I loved them. I love the laughs, and I love the spookiness of them. And if anyone on here has any stories that they'd like to share, they're scrolling across the bottom is the email. It's Myers Tales of Appalachia at gmail.com. And thank you so much, Philip. I appreciate that. But really, really enjoyed them. And Hope and Autumn are doing excellent. We actually took Hope yesterday to the movies and watched the movie and ate some popcorn. And I don't think, no, we didn't go. We usually get a little something to eat and go feed the ducks. But today we went out and fed the ducks and got some more bird feed because our bird feeders were out, and I filled those up. And but they're doing excellent. Hope's got her days where her sugar stays high no matter what you do, but those are becoming less and less that we've noticed. They're not happening so awesome or so often, and everything's going excellent with her, so can't complain, that's for sure. But I appreciate each and every one of y'all coming out tonight and hanging out with us. And hello, Betty. It's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate the stories. Those were so awesome. Some of them was funny. The one Saturday is it kind of hits home, and it's kind of sad. So I got it. It's going to be in the video. It's going to be much like it is tonight, just me reading it, but throw a few pictures in the intro, and I got a little scene where you can watch the fog rolling in and some fireflies, and then you can hear all them nighttime creatures are going. Because like I said, I filmed this one outside in the middle of the night where you could hear all that. So Saturday's video is going to be really, really good. So I want to thank everybody for leaving the comments and sharing us out, and leaving your thumbs up and sharing us out with your friends, and thank the people who watch back later. We appreciate all that. We ain't hit 1,900 yet. We actually lost 2 subscribers, but we'll get there. But until next Wednesday, I'll see you guys later. Thank y'all so much, guys. We'll see you.